Hello and welcome to our show. Today I'm actually going to be doing a lot of different things. One of the things I am going to talk about is intent and kata, and also how kata actually helps you fix your brain in an accident. And that will make more sense as I go on. But one of the things that was happening is I was having a conversation with my girlfriend after we met someone who claimed to be a doctor in something. And as I kept on going, we found out that he set up his dojo and gave the school a name as a university. I won't mention too much because I don't want to out someone necessarily, but the person actually claimed to have a university, and we found out that his doctorate was through his university. And didn't have any other professors. He was the professor, president, chair of his university, and he just told people to call him doctor. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I've never really done this before, but I will, and that is this. This is actually a college schedule, and one of the things I want you guys to see is I always talk about how I've been a college schedule, and you'll notice the last name on the martial arts instructor being R. Gutierrez. Yes, I am R. H. Gutierrez. I do have an MD from a university, and I do teach martial arts. I do have a couple degree black belts, which I won't talk too much about. And my black belts actually do come from people in Okinawa. Now, I am what I do want to talk about is a little bit about academia and titles in martial arts. Now, there are some titles that are specifically used in martial arts. For instance, most people, whenever they're in a dojo, they call the person teaching them sensei. Whoever's leading the class is sensei. Now, sensei technically is a word that means the person who started the path before. And that's it. Now, we do use it as honorific, but there are some schools who have actually tried to make a formality of it. What I mean is, no, you can't call someone sensei until they're X degree black belt. And once they get to another degree black belt, we have another title for them. Interesting thing about this is my late teacher had a 10th degree black belt, and he was awarded his 10th degree black belt from a high ranking, another 10th degree black belt in their group in Okinawa. And he only ever had me call him sensei. It's actually kind of funny, and as I think about it, he never actually asked me to call him sensei. I called him sensei out of respect. Now, there are some titles which are academic in nature. What I mean is you do need a academic institute that's recognized from somewhere to give you these. And usually these have either some sort of curriculum or they have a committee which decides what gives a degree. So, for instance, in universities, you have bachelor degrees. And bachelor degrees, they expect you to take classes in a group of different disciplines, and you're going to have a lot of different teachers. You then have master's degrees, which again, you're going to take a couple classes in different areas, mostly in a specific area. And then you have doctoral degrees, and not all doctoral degrees are the same. For instance, you do have PhDs and you have an MDs. Now you think about this. A PhD usually is a person who has subspecialized in something, and that's it. For instance, they may have done cell molecular biology. An MD is someone who's actually going to be taught to work with patients as a whole person. They will actually take classes in cell molecular biology, in microbiology, and biochemistry, in psychology in some cases, in epidemiology, and I can't even remember all the anatomy, physiology, microbiology. I can't even remember all the classes I had to take. And yes, I do have an MD, as I mentioned. And the reason this matters, the reason why you want an academic university giving these titles such as masters and doctorates is because they actually have something that they have not just a reputation, but they also have accreditation committees that they have to deal with. If they're just handing out bachelors or doctorates like there's nothing, then things fall apart and accreditation committees can get upset, which is one of the things that has happened to some universities lately. Uh, a lot of them most of them try to get people to teach classes who have actually taken the classes before, but we're actually starting to see something in a lot of community colleges, universities, even doctoral programs, where they hire someone who has never actually taken or worked in the field. That's problematic. Now, the other important thing with martial arts, especially when you're dealing with, is the intent. And I know I'm jumping from going into the variations of titles and then going to intent. And intent is actually important for martial arts for a lot of reasons. One is it actually does teach you how to use the kata. Now, if your intent is to win a game, win at a sport, you're going to use the kata to win at the sport. If you're using it for self-defense, the intent is a little different. And I will actually talk about that a bit later, because what I was actually interested in talking about is something that actually my girlfriend started talking about, and that is in karate we do katas. And one of the things with katas, if you have this book, this breaking points, I actually do talk about how katas affect the mind. And one of the things we find is it does help. The brain looks at patterns and tries to memorize those patterns. That's actually the quickest way for the brain to actually learn something, is through the patterns. Now, as you're learning patterns, the brain makes physical connections, changing the way your brain actually looks. It's actually a process called neuroplasticity, which I recommend people look it up, especially if you're teaching martial arts, because it's what you're doing, and why you see a lot of people who have either ADHD or autism get a lot better when they start doing karate. It's actually not the sparring, it's not the formalized, oh, you're going to sit there with your eyes closed. What it actually is what helps them actually get better is probably, I can't say for sure, but it's probably the katas, a formalized exercise that have you moving from one place to another, learning to do these movements. Well, these movements actually help you rewire your brain. And they actually make more connections. They actually physically make neurons touch other neurons, so the way the brain is weaved changes. And so with this weaving of the brain, you end up having a more complicated brain when it comes to moving. Now, why is this important? The reason we were talking about this is we have a friend who had a stroke. And one of the things that he had mentioned is after his stroke, his doctor was surprised at how fast he was able to move again. And as we had talked about the neuroplasticity with him, he said he's constantly looking at his kata, constantly changing him, constantly working on him. And he actually was the one who gave us the idea that chances are the doing the katas over and over and learning how to redo them and teaching them and finding new ways to do them probably helped him rewire his brain. So when he did get the stroke, his brain was able to work around that. And again, neuroplasticity works like that. If you have a physical connection in the brain, and the one that you normally use isn't working, it will actually find ways to get around it. If you think about when a road closure happens, if you know enough of the patterns around that area, you can end up finding different ways around, even if you can't go straight, which in this case means that you can move quick. You can actually get up and start moving quicker, and you can actually start healing. You can actually start forming the new connections. So, with that, I will end. And next time, I do want to actually talk about intent more. And actually, I may actually do another, depending if I could go to the butcher shop or not, because there's something I want to show. But there is actually one book that will be available again soon, and that's this Human Anatomy, a Clinical Approach. I'm going to be doing a seminar in the Peaceful Warrior and Martial Arts and Healing Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's for they do a big seminar trying to get as many people as they can come, learn, and teach. And I'm going to be one of the presenters there. I am going to talk about disabling blows in different areas you can actually hit, why you want to hit certain areas, why you want to avoid certain areas of self-defense. And I really want to get this thing to a point where it could actually maybe help someone who might be taking that. So that's why I took it off for a while ago, because it's not completely as I like it. I'm hoping that it will be by the end of January. And so if you are in Scottsdale, you may want to take a look at their seminars. If you're actually ever coming down to San Diego, I always love meeting martial artists. Let me know, and maybe we can meet and have coffee or something. well, I hope you enjoy this and have a nice day.